So without further ado, Carrie, thank you and Andy for being here. And whenever you're ready, please tell us all about Sciwheel.
Great. Thank you so much, Vanessa. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tech Tuesday. I'm Carrie Jedlicka. I'm the Clinical Medical Librarian Intern at the Samuel J. Wood Library, and I'm joined by my colleague, Andy Hickner, who is the Education and Outreach Librarian. So thank you so much for joining us. Today, we're going to learn how to use Sciwheel bibliographic management software. If you're already an experienced user of reference management software like EndNote or Mendeley, using Sciwheel will probably be pretty easy. If you're brand new to reference management and you find yourself getting a little confused or overwhelmed, don't worry. As Vanessa mentioned, we are recording the session and we'll be sending out the link to everyone so you can review the information in your own time. Full disclosure, Andy and I both began using Sciwheel this year. Andy also has many years of experience with EndNote and Zotero, so he also brings that knowledge to this session. So just wanted to give you some information about our different levels of experience and perspective, and we will get started. Oops. Oh, there we go. Okay, so today's learning outcomes. So we are going to define reference management, reference manager, and synonyms for these terms. We'll show you how to create a Sciwheel account, which is very simple. We will import references to a library from a database such as PubMed, and we will insert references into a Microsoft Word document, generate a reference list, and show you how to format the references. And then finally, we'll show you some tools for collaborating with co-authors in Sciwheel, which is a really nice feature. Okay, so here's our game plan. We are gonna start with some icebreaker polls, which Vanessa has very kindly helped us with. We'll do a brief slide presentation, and then we'll switch to the live demo. I'll be doing the first half, and Andy will be doing the second half. And then we'll do a few more polls to assess your learning, and we have plenty of time to answer your questions. All right, I think Vanessa, if you don't mind, starting with our first set of polls, that would be great.
All right, everybody should see our polls up on the screen, so feel free to answer them. It should be 3 short questions that you see. Yes,
so let us know your level of experience using reference management systems, which ones you may have used in the past, if any, and some general thoughts on what you'd like to learn today. And for that last question, if there's something else you'd like to learn that we haven't noted, please type that in the chat, and we will try to address that. All right.
We've got a little over half of the people. Oh, okay, we've got almost everybody voting. I'll share the results in just a second, you guys. I just want to make sure everybody has a chance to vote. Looks like people are done voting, so let me share the results with you guys.
Great.
Can you guys see that, Andy and Carrie?
Yes. Okay, so it looks like we've got a mixed group here. So we've got some folks that are totally new to reference managers, and then other people who have some experience to having quite a lot of experience. So that's good. And for those of you that are new, I think Sciwheel is a good one to get started on. All right, so yes, EndNote is a pretty popular reference manager that a lot of people use at Weill Cornell. I see that a few other people have used RefWorks, Mendeley, and some people who have never used one. Okay, and people are wanting to see a general overview and how to format citations and create a bibliography. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Vanessa. I will just exit out of this. And thank you for sharing that feedback with us. All right. So moving into our slides. So what is a reference manager? Essentially, a reference manager is software that you can use to create a personal database and organize your citations, your full text articles, and other documents. You can import citations from online scholarly databases, and you can also upload a research paper or a manuscript to the reference manager and format your in-text citations and bibliographies in a variety of citation styles instantly while you write. If you are working on a manuscript for publication and you end up submitting it to more than one journal, and you end up needing to reformat your paper to a different citation style, reference managers can definitely make your life a lot easier. Okay, so some of the terminology. You may hear reference management referred to as citation management or bibliographic management. All of these terms are basically interchangeable. They mean the same thing. So a reference manager is simply the software you use to manage your references. So don't let the different terminology throw you off. All right, so Sciwheel. So here is a link that you can use to access Sciwheel via the Weill Cornell Medicine Library website. You can also do a Google search for Sciwheel Weill Cornell. You just want to make sure that you're accessing Sciwheel via Weill Cornell. Sciwheel is web-based, and the first time you log in, the first time you access it, you'll need to log in with your seaweed and then create an account. And then anytime you access Sciwheel, I recommend continuing to log in through the Weill Cornell Medicine URL. This is going to help make sure that Sciwheel recognizes your institutional affiliation. There's also a desktop app that you'll download later if you want to work on inserting references and creating a bibliography in a Word document. But you can do that remotely. You don't have to be on site at Weill Cornell in order to do this. Okay, any questions at the beginning? Or should we just move into our live demo?
I don't see any questions in the chat yet if you want to just move on to the demo.
Okay, perfect. All right. Great. Okay, so the first thing we're going to show you is how to create a Sciwheel account. So this is the link that we showed you in the slide. And let's see, actually, minimize. All right, so as I mentioned, you won't need to get to Sciwheel through the Weill Cornell Medicine Library website. Also good to know, Sciwheel used to be called Faculty of 1000 or F1000 Workspace, so you might see that name pop up, but don't let that throw you. That is the Sciwheel that you want to access. Okay, so now it's going to prompt you to create your free account.
Oh, Carrie,
yes.
I think you need to share your desktop. I think we're only seeing your PowerPoint.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, not a problem.
Let me see.
Just didn't want to let you get, it's okay. Just didn't want to get too far ahead.
No, thank you so much. Okay. Sorry guys, let me try this again. Okay, are
Perfect.
You seeing? Okay,
yep.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, so this is the link to the library webpage that I mentioned. Sciwheel, formerly F1000, which I was talking about. So you're gonna click on this link here, and then Easy Proxy will take you to our, Sciwheel via Weill Cornell's institutional account. And you are prompted to create your free account. Okay, And so this is really simple. You just add your first name, last name, your email address, create a password, verify that you are not a robot, and create your free account. Because I already have an account, I am just going to sign in. Okay, I will skip this for now. And then here we have my Sciwheel library. Right now, I'm going to take you guys on a tour of Sciwheel momentarily, but first of all, I'm going to show you how to import citations into Sciwheel. So I am going to take you to a search that I did in PubMed. Hopefully you can see it. Okay, so this is a search that I did in PubMed on kidney transplantation and COVID-19. So let's say I want to add these citations to my Sciwheel account and create a new project to hold these citations. So what I'm going to do, hopefully you can see this on my upper right-hand screen. There's a little icon, which is kind of like a blue-green wheel with a white caret, and it says Sciwheel browser extension. So I'll show you when we're doing the tour, but you will download a browser extension, and it's very handy. Once you have it, it appears up on your toolbar, and anytime you are looking at citations, Sciwheel will instantly start screening them to see, and a little number will pop up to let you know that Sciwheel is aware of the citations on the page. So you can see the number here is 50. That's actually the amount of citations I have on my page per the delimiters that I've set with PubMed. And if I want to add them to my Sciwheel library, I click on it. And you see that I have 50 references found. You can add articles individually, but if I want all of them, I just hit select all. And then to add them to a project, I click on the button here. And I would recommend, if you're adding citations, add them to a project or create a new one. You have the object, or you can add them to an unsorted list, but I think to keep things sort of organized, I recommend creating a project. So I'm just gonna create a new project here. So I'll call it COVID-19 and kidney transplantation. Okay, so then I'll hit create and then I hit add. So you can see it's updating and the check marks let me know that I was successful. All right, so now I am going to, all right, we'll start our little tour of Sciwheel on the dashboard. And I am going to also refresh. When you're sending information to Sciwheel, sometimes you actually need to refresh to see your new results. So here on the dashboard, we have kind of a summary of some of my more recent projects that I've been working on, including the citations I just sent over from PubMed. And Sciwheel also has some suggestions, some kind of helpful hints for learning that you can check out if you want. Up here, we have tools on the menu. And if you click on that, that is where you will find your internet browser extension, which is very easy to download. So Sciwheel has a couple different extensions that are compatible with different browsers. They have an extension for Chrome, one for Firefox. They also have Edge and Opera if you happen to use those browsers. Currently, as far as I know, there are not browser extensions for Internet Explorer or Safari, so just be aware of that. So anyway, so that is our Internet extension browser. And then we also have the plugins and add-ons. If you want to work on a manuscript with Microsoft Word document, you will find that tool here. And then we also have a Google Docs add-in if that's what you want to use to work on your manuscript. All right, so now let's go over to references and take a look at our library. Okay, so here on the left, we have a tool for importing references. I just showed you one way that you guys can import references using the web browser, but there are different ways to do it as well. Say you have a PDF on your desk or maybe on Google Drive that you want to upload, you can do it that way. You can also import from other reference managers. Say you're working on a group project and maybe someone is using EndNote or a different reference manager, you can import that way. You can import with different reference files, different identifiers if you want to do it by PubMed ID or DOI. You can import from search results or even create a reference manually. So you have all kinds of options here for uploading your citations. You can create a reading list if that's something that you want to do. And then we also have private projects or individual projects, as well as shared projects. And these are very easy to sort of play around with. This was a project I worked on anti-racism curricula. And I'll show you here, if you click this edit button, you can create sub-projects, you can rename a project, you can share a project, you can delete it, you can archive, there's all kinds of things you can do. And that's also the way, this is also, if you want to create a new project, you just click the plus sign. If you want to create a shared project, you simply click the title. I'll just make this one test. And then it will prompt you to send emails. And then you can invite collaborators to participate in your group project. All right, and then let's take a look at the citations I just imported. Okay, so you can see that I have 50 citations here, which is what I imported from PubMed. So this is, I skipped those first two because I had previously played around with them, but this is generally what you're going to be looking at when you import citations. So you're gonna get an abstract, and then you're gonna get a link for full text and institutional access. So if I want to upload a PDF to go with this citation, I click on the full text. And this is where your Weill Cornell affiliation is coming in handy because you're getting all your privileges to full text articles via our subscriptions. So you have to get to the PDF version. Okay, so here's my PDF, and I'm going to go back to the Sciwheel icon up at the top and click on it. And then it says, add this article to project. So, oh, I'm so sorry. Well, it actually worked earlier today when I was trying to download the file. Sorry for my technical troubles. Let me see if I can quickly add another one, and if not, I will just move on. But that is the way it's supposed to work. Maybe just not when you're doing a live presentation. Oh dear. Well, I hope my internet connectivity is okay.
Don't sweat it, Carrie. If you want to send me, just in the chat, send me like a link to a file and I can try to demo that feature
Gotcha.
after we do the full text.
All right, let me make one last ditch effort. Sorry guys for my technical problems.
There's always something that goes wrong.
Today is my day, I guess.
The joys of live instruction.
Yes. Okay. So let's see if I download. Okay. Oh, so I guess it seems to think that it's added. Okay, that's great. And another feature here, which you can see if you are looking in your article. Oh my goodness. Let's see if I can do this. All right. If you see maybe a quote that you like or something that you want to call the attention to of your colleagues, Sciwheel will usually give you an option to play around with that. But you know what? I'm really sorry. I think Sciwheel is not really behaving and that well for me at the moment. So I'm going to skip that. But let me go ahead and refresh and at least show you that when you have successfully downloaded full text, as I did on a previous occasion, you're gonna see this new icon at the top that says Open PDF. So you can take a look at that. So there you go. So it does work, I promise. I'm sorry, it's just not working that well for me today, but yes. And then quickly also just to show you, Sciwheel will start to make suggestions for articles that they think are related. So you can check that out to see if that's helpful for you or not. There's also a notes field. Generally, when you're able to download a PDF, you should also be able to highlight and make notes. And the notes are all stored for you here in case you want to review those quickly. And this is where you would add a manuscript. And with this, Andy, I will transition over to you because Andy's going to talk about using the Word plugin and working with in-text citations and reference and bibliographies.
Sure. Thanks, Carrie. Hang on, I got to change my view. All right, I am just going to set up screen sharing really quick. All right, so we are now in, everybody can see my, Carrie, can we see my Microsoft Word? And or Vanessa? Great, okay. So I'm now in Microsoft Word. One thing, before you start inserting references into your manuscript, you wanna make sure to have the desktop application for Sciwheel downloaded and installed. That needs to be launched. In order to get all of this working together. And again, you can download the desktop application from that upper right-hand menu, the tools menu, right, same place where you would download the browser extensions. All right, so I have one paragraph. This is the simplest imaginable manuscript, and I've just inserted some notes for myself about where I want specific references. I'm going to place my cursor where the references are going to go at the end of this first sentence, and you'll see once I have the desktop application installed, the Sciwheel tab now shows up in my Microsoft Word. If you don't see that that Sciwheel tab showing up, then it probably means you don't have the desktop app installed correctly. So I'll click on that tab, and on the far left-hand side, I'll click this Insert Citation button. And let me just see. I'm going to insert. Is Carrie and everybody, is the pop-up, the little Sciwheel pop-up window showing?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So I am just going to start searching by author. So I'll select that and then add my next author. Select that one. You can see it's adding down here. And I'll just click add. And you'll see numbered references have started to pop up. Next thing I'm going to do is I can start my bibliography, my reference list at the end. So to do that, I'll click on the Styles and Bibliography part of the menu, and then click Create Bibliography. It asks me if I want to insert the bibliography. The answer is yes. And as you can see, this pops those references into the end of my manuscript. And I'm just going to, just so it shows up a little all in one place, I'm just going to delete it and move it up. And let's move on and add the next two references. Go back to insert citation, find the author. You don't have to use the author name, by the way. You could also use title, article title, any kind of metadata from the reference will work to find what you're looking to add. The last one, and click add. So then it adds my next two references. Now, if you were, for those of you who are used to doing this by hand, this would take you a considerable amount of time to get everything, all the information hand typed. So if you've used a different reference manager such as EndNote, you're familiar with how speedy and painless it makes it once you start using a reference manager. All right, so I have my references inserted. I have my reference list generated. Now let's look at formatting, which you can also find in the styles in bibliography sort of block of this ribbon. Right now, my style is set to the journal Annals of Internal Medicine. But as you can see, I have a number of other possible journals. And this is just a fraction of all the available reference styles. If I didn't see the journal I wanted to submit to on this list, I could go to more styles. I could also, let's see, I could also search. So I am just going, just to show how quickly this will reformat, let's suppose I was resubmitting to a different journal. I could change the style to the Lancet. And that might have been too quick for you to see, but you'll notice that I changed from a parenthetical inline citation to superscripted. So it's changed that to the house style. And it's also made some stylistic changes to my references list. So for example, we see journal names are now italicized. So again, instead of having to do all of that by hand, with a couple of clicks, you can find the journal that you need and reformat everything very quickly. So the wonders are not done yet. I'm also just going to delete my little notes to myself because I don't need them anymore. So it gets even better. Suppose I wanted to rearrange part of my manuscript, move a paragraph or a sentence. Let's try reordering this paragraph. So I'll move my second sentence and instead put it first. And as you can see, it automatically reordered all of my references. Again, this takes out all the work that you would have to do of manually renumbering and keeping track of your references. Huge time saver. Let's see. So those are really the basics. Carrie had also pointed out the manuscript section of the Sciwheel browser, the Sciwheel online version, and that integration you can access in Word through the Sciwheel manuscript tab, and you can do the same thing where you're sharing it with co-authors, backing it up to the cloud, etc. As you can see, we also have our integration with our Sciwheel projects. I could assign this to project if I wanted to, and it also provides handy navigation, so I can jump right back into the browser version of Sciwheel if I want to. All right, so when you're ready to submit your manuscripts, I always recommend reviewing your references list one final time to check for any errors. Reference managers don't always do a perfect job with certain types of references. One example is something like citations to federal statutes, like if you were citing the Affordable Care Act, for example. So if you're having trouble getting a particular reference formatted correctly, one thing you can do is at the very end, export it to plain text, and then you can make edits directly to the text of the reference. And the way I would do that is go up here and then Styles and Bibliography block, go to Export, and then Export to plain text. And then what that'll do is it'll save a new, it'll open and create a new copy without the field codes that link it to the software. Those field codes will be removed, and it'll be just like editing a plain text. What you'll want to do, so that's the plain text copy is the one that you would submit to the journal or to the funder if you're submitting a grant application. And then you'll also keep the original copy with the Sciwheel field codes in case you need to revise it later on. All right, we are at about 12:30, so I want to have time for everyone's questions. Vanessa, why don't we move on to the polls now? And I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for the time being.
Sure thing. I'll pull up the first one that you guys have. All right, it should be appearing on everyone's screen right now.
All right, so this is just to kind of help you check your knowledge. True or false, a reference manager provides the same functions as a citation manager.
Okay, I've got about half the votes in. Let me just see if everyone is voting. All right, it looks like, oh, okay, we got a few more. I'm gonna give it like about 5 more seconds and then I'll share the results. All right, it looks like it stopped. All right, let me share those results with you guys.
Yeah, and I'll do a quick debrief of this one. So as Carrie said in the introduction, a reference manager and citation manager, those are basically synonyms. They're the same thing. You'll hear them used interchangeably. So we're ready for the next one. Yep.
All righty.
True or false, a reference manager provides the same, okay, we're on the next one. What are the ways you can import references into Sciwheel? This one is multiple choice, select all that apply.
Okay, it looks like votes are slowing down. I think everybody who wanted to vote has, so let me share those results with you guys.
All right, so as it turns out, all of these are ways that you can import references into Sciwheel. You can upload a PDF, you can use the browser extension, you can import from another reference manager like EndNote, or you can create a citation manual.
Awesome, let me pull up the last one.
And this is another select all multiple choice type question. Which of the following tasks can Sciwheel help you do?
All right, looks like most of the votes are in. I'm gonna share the results.
All right, so most of you did pretty well on this. Sciwheel can obviously help you organize your citations and your PDFs. It can help you share and annotate articles with your collaborators, and you can use it to format your manuscript in any number of styles. The one thing that Sciwheel sadly cannot do for you is send you reminders of project deadlines. And I mean, there are other ways that you can do that. Microsoft Outlook tends to be the way that I set my project reminders. Okay, so thank you very much, Vanessa.
No problem. You got a couple of questions while we were doing that, so.
I see. Yeah, and actually, even before that, Vanessa, if it's okay, if you don't mind my sharing what you had chatted to me about the PDF issue that Carrie was running into.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, Vanessa noted that there is a little yellow bar that showed up that was a notification about accepting cookies. So that might have been what was going on there. Anyway, just something for both of us to remember for next time, because it's probably going to happen to me. All right, so one question, I knew somebody was going to ask this. If I'm going to learn a new reference organizer, should I learn Sciwheel or EndNote? The short answer is it kind of depends on your role. Right now, not all Weill Cornell folks have, not all affiliates necessarily have access to the desktop version of EndNote. Everybody does have access to EndNote online, but in our experience, Sciwheel is a little more user-friendly and has basically all the same functionality as EndNote online. And I will also add that once you learn to use one software, it's pretty easy to pick up a second one. It's kind of like statistical software that way. So I would say if you have a tag device and your collaborators are using EndNote, then EndNote would probably be a good option. If you don't have a Weill Cornell tagged device and you're just starting out for the first time, I'd maybe check out Sciwheel. Carrie, do you have any, feel free to chime in on any of these.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Next question, can we access the metadata of the references in Sciwheel and make changes? How is it different from Mendeley? Yeah, so let me do another quick screen share because this is a very good question. Okay. I think so. You all can see my Sciwheel now.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a couple of different things you can do. Now, if there was a problem with the underlying data, I could just left click on a result and then go up here to where the little 3 buttons are in the upper right and click edit. And that would allow me to update whatever metadata is incorrect. This article actually, because it's right out of PubMed, this article is fine. We don't have any problems. But sometimes another example of where you might have some metadata that isn't totally correct is with web references. And so using this edit option can help you fix that. Let's see. I want to make sure I'm answering the second part of the question as well. Where did my chat go? Carrie, can you see what the second?
Yes, the second question was, how is Sciwheel different from Mendeley?
Oh, how's it different from Mendeley? Honestly, I think the functionality is pretty similar. I myself am not a Mendeley user. I've only used it very briefly. It's a different provider. Mendeley is through a different vendor. And Sciwheel, I believe Mendeley is free, correct? If anybody happens to be on this, I think Mendeley might be free to download, whereas Sciwheel, you have to have an institutional license like we have here at Weill Cornell. Okay, I have a request to resend the link to download it. I'm going to send that in the, thank you, Sanjuta, for answering that question for us. Let's see, we had a request for a copy of the clickable link.
Oh, I can make sure that's sent via email.
Oh yeah, thank you, Vanessa. Vanessa will be following up with all participants with another email, just with the helpful links that we had to share, including the link to download it. Any other questions?
I don't see any additional questions. We have about 5 minutes left, so if anybody does have questions, feel free to just put them in the chat. But just as a reminder, yes, this session is being recorded for anybody who came in after the introduction. And Andy and Carrie have provided a bunch of links with useful information about how to use this tool after this demo is over. So I'll be sending all that via email later on so that you can look at it, you know, at your leisure. There was a question that just came into me right now, actually, from Robert Kelly. Is there a Linux version available of Sciwheel?
That I don't actually know off the top of my head. I can look into that and get back to you. That's actually a really good question.
Good question.
I'm very impressed that we have a Linux user on.
Yeah.
And Sanjita just sent us another question. Can I use it on a non-tagged laptop, and will the references sync across devices?
I am actually, believe it or not, and I might get in trouble for saying this, I'm actually using Sciwheel on my personal laptop right now, and yes, they do sync.
Awesome. And then from Cynthia, can you upload references from a Word document?
I'm not, I'm guessing Cynthia is talking about, because there's functionality called the traveling library and a note where you can sort of do that. I actually am not aware if that functionality is available in Sciwheel. Carrie, do you happen to know anything about that?
I would guess probably not. I don't think that that's ever something I've come across. I'm guessing you would probably have to manually enter it. So yes, I'm afraid I'm not aware of that function either.
Yeah. One other thing, while we have a couple more minutes left, if everybody can look in the chat, I have sent a link to our session evaluation. I would appreciate it if everybody could fill this out for us. Those of us at the library we've been asked to be a little more diligent about using our library session evaluation. So it only takes a minute or two, and your completing it will help us with our assessment efforts. We have another question. Can a Sciwheel library be imported into EndNote? I believe the answer to that is yes. Carrie, that is, you can, correct?
I think you have more EndNote expertise than I do, so I would defer to you with this question.
I feel like there has to be a way to do that. Having said that, I haven't actually done it myself. Let's see. I'm just going to, let's get back to you. That's going to be another question that we'll have to get back to you on. Can you export to EndNote? The answer is probably yes, but I will get back to everybody with a link on how to do that.
Awesome. It doesn't look like we have any more questions. We've got a minute left if you want to throw one in there. But in the meantime, thank you, Andy and Carrie, for showing us how to use Sciwheel. And I'll send you both the transcript so that you have all the questions that people have asked. So you can verify about the Linux and other questions that you need to follow up with. But it looks like people are saying thank you and are heading out. So I think I'm just going to wrap up the session.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Vanessa, for your support. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
No problem. Thank you guys so much for attending this session.